Just in case y'all ain't know, my John, we gon' put it in they face. Let them know, cause we don't play around. 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 Haters hate but lose when we in the race. Hey, we up in the place and we gon' put it in they face. Let them know.
What's up, H-Town and all around? That's Mike Jones. Ooh, that's what's up, y'all. Hey, shout out to him. He's coming back to the stadium real soon for a halftime show, and maybe
Finally.
do a remix to the goal score to when we score a goal. You never know. It's been so long we've used it, but hey, like I said, what's up, H-Town and all around? This is the Dash Dispatch. Welcome back, or welcome to. I am OSG, and with me tonight is the dynamic Foxtrot. Something special tonight, man. Something special. We have a double dip. We're doing the Dash Dispatch Lab tonight, and we're doing Noodle Time Lab tonight. 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, they'll be continuous, so thank you for joining in if you're here. Thank you for staying if you stay later, but you're going to get both. You're going to get Dash, you're going to get Dynamo tonight, but Andres, the dynamic Foxtrot. How you doing, brother? What's going on?
Sir, pretty good. Still Dynamo going on, but we got to talk about the Dash. Even though they're in international break, a lot of players, international duty, and a lot of conversation to get into.
We actually do. Even though we're on that break, we do have a lot to get into. Like you mentioned, international duty, but there is a lot of other information as well. So, you know what? We'll just start it out, and we'll see where we end up tonight. Thank you again for staying with us. Shout out to y'all if you join us. Super shout out to y'all if y'all just listen later. But anyways, let's get started. Dash announced another friendly against the Carolina Ascent, or however you want. Yeah, however you want to say it. July 20th, it's a Sunday. It is the week before we return back to NWSL play. This is, like I said, a Sunday, 7 o'clock game. It is open to season ticket holders only currently. So hopefully there will be another way for fans to be there, but it will be at Houston Sports Park as well. So it's going to bring your lawn chairs like you're at a youth game if you want to sit comfortably, because there is no seat. But Andres, we have Rayados here next Tuesday, and then Carolina Ascent or whatever. But I believe these are the runner-ups for the U.S. Women's Super League, if I'm not mistaken, which is going to be very good competition. We played down at Dallas Trinity earlier in our preseason and tied 1-1, but now this is midway. So Fabrice has 2 more games to play around with his roster, his tactics, and his lineups. How do you see this friendly?
It's more than needed, considering that we have a month-long break.
Yeah.
And the players that are staying in town do need that practice and need that time for cohesion, because this season is not going great. And we need to find a winning formula here. There's definitely still time to turn things around. There's still time to get the results, but it has to be now, because we talked about it in the previous episodes. We barely have any room for error now, and it's time for them to act immediately. And I feel like this is a good place to start. It's definitely tough competition, considering that Rayadas is a pretty decent team, and Ascent, like we mentioned before, even though you could say it's like a lower division team, especially in the USL pyramid, I still believe that this is going to be a good challenge, especially to see how we measure against like a lower division team, which is a fairly new concept, especially in women's soccer in the US, because this is barely haven't done before. And like going back to the past few years, so we had lower division women's soccer, but nothing like this.
This will be a fun little game. Like I said, it'll be at HSP, so it will not be on TV at all. So maybe it'll be streamed on.
No.
Maybe the Dash will stream it, hopefully, since they're allowing people there to see it. So why not? I'll offer to stream it for y'all from the field. I'll go. So Dash, let me know. I'll pull out the phone. I'll bring a real photographer too, a videographer. We'll stream it for you. Let us know. But Otherwise, if they allow us, we'll report it and we'll give you the updates as it happens. Rayodos will obviously be at Shell Energy on Tuesday. That one is you can get tickets on SeatGeek, and I hope y'all go out and check this one out. You're gonna see a mix. You're not gonna have a Logia. You're not gonna have Barb. Probably will not get Patterson and Ryan because they just played 3 games, so they deserve their break. But this is also, like we said, 2 games left for Fabrice to play with the roster, play with the lineup, play with the tactics. We're yet to see Rebecca. I expect to see Rebecca 2 times.
Where's Rebecca? Where's Rebecca? I need. We gotta see Rebecca at some point. This is like the best time is now. It's friendly.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. Well, it matters.
Iverson didn't practice well, right?
I mean, it matters because we have to get this team to gel over time, and this is the perfect time to just like play her out. We got 2 games to test her. If everything goes well, we can move to the league.
Hey, and if she's that bad at practice, play her. And if she's bad, the fans will notice and they'll be like, okay, why'd you play Rebecca? And it'll be like, thank you. But
yeah.
player, you have 2 opportunities to play her where you have nothing to lose. So play her. Let's see what she's got, opportunity, what she can do. I mean, like I said, Allen Iverson didn't like to practice, and you saw what he was able to do. So maybe she just isn't well at practice. But if you're getting beaten around at practice, and Fabrice doesn't, obviously he pays attention, right? Because he's the keeper situation. But so we'll see what they do. So like I said, Tuesday night at Shell Energy Stadium against Rayados Monterrey. So hope y'all can be there. Once we get TV streaming, if there is, we'll let you know. But follow us. You know where to follow us. We'll mention it here at the end. Where to follow us in case you don't know. But we'll keep in tune and we'll keep you updated. Also with the Dash Dispatch newsletter that comes out weekly or weekly and a half, whichever. Just pay attention. It'll give you everything. You can just read through it. You don't have to listen to us for an hour. You don't have to watch me for an hour either. But it is what it is. All right, man. All right. Another interesting topic. Liz Beardsley is given a 3-year extension, the last year being a mutual option for both teams. 3rd string keeper gets an extension for 3 years with Abby Smith as the free agent. But first off, Liz Beardsley gets a 3-year extension. Your thoughts?
I was kind of surprised because normally, especially when it comes to a 3rd string keeper, it's pretty tough to keep that spot because as a player you're trying to expand your horizons and try to see if you can find another place to play because it's tough just being a 3rd string keeper. I mean, look, Abby Smith is right in front of you. You're not gonna play, so like it's like just based on the air form and all that, but still, it's pretty tough to be in that position. But if the offer and the terms of that we're just like, okay, we might switch you around with Abby Smith, or we're gonna try to play you in a different way on a consistent basis, or make it that promise. And it also kind of depends on what happens in the future if Abby Smith is kept or not. I feel like it's also a variable to consider. So I feel like it's a good call. I was more so impressed considering that we haven't seen her play a lot, and it must have been something about like a lot.
Oh, Liz?
Yeah.
Yeah, we haven't seen Liz play at all.
That's what I said, yeah.
Oh, yeah. We haven't seen her play a lot. Yeah. Okay, my bad. Misinterpreted. Yeah, I was like,
that's all good.
Hadn't played her at all, so like, but yeah.
Yeah, I was about to say that since we haven't seen her play a lot, it's kind of hard to justify that contract. But at the same time, it could just be a situation like, okay, she's been doing good at practice, but it's pretty tough to just play her because we have Abby Smith behind Jane Campbell. So it could be good for us. And like I said, in the future to consider, also because we have Abby Smith as a free agent, and we can talk about that later. But yeah, that's pretty good for Liz.
That is true. We will talk about it later, and we will dive deeper into this little situation here, but we'll save it for that free agency topic later. So stay tuned, y'all. All right. International duty for the Houston Dash. 6 players were involved in international duty. I'm going to start with the youngest and move our way to the oldest. Andreas, if you could pull up the Dash Dispatch for the notes and have those game schedules for Nigeria and for Venezuela ready.
Yep.
Maggie Graham not Maggie Graham, Zoe Matthews participated in Denver for the U18 camp. I believe it was just a camp. Don't know if there was any friendlies. They might have had a scrimmage against a local club or something like that, but nothing too particular. She was at camp, U18, got to participate for a month, had fun, it looked like. Took a picture, and it was kind of funny that picture, she just monstered the 2 other girls next to her. And I'm thinking, like, oh, yeah, these are 17-year-old women or 17-year-old girls. Like, they're like, these 2 are right here, and then she's like towering above them. Like, yeah, Zoe's a beast. So looking forward to see what she can do, if she can come back and do something for the Dash. But Zoe Matthews, U18 camp, and that is her age. Sometimes you look for, hopefully, she's able to make the U20s, so she's making better progress. But being just at U18, kind of maybe is why Fabrice hasn't given her the opportunity on the field yet, because maybe she is still playing to her age. Don't know. That's hard to judge because we don't get to see her. But any comments on Zoe Matthews U18 camp?
She's still getting the call-ups, and that usually means that she is very good. And it kind of sucks that we can see her play a lot because, like we talked about at the start of the season, she's been getting switched into a new position, which, as a player that's been accustomed to playing a different position for so many years, is definitely difficult to transition. I just hope to see her play at some point. And what a perfect moment, considering that we're playing scrimmages. I hope that's the case.
She is back with the team in training, so hopefully we can see her on the pitch in these 2 friendlies that we have coming up. It's a desperate, like we said, Rebecca, Zoe Matthews are 2 players that are in necessity of getting minutes, and I start them both, and I play them both as much time as I can. If one just shows that you can't just cut it on the field and you got to sub her, then sub her. Otherwise, play them both 90 minutes for both games and just let them see what they can do. Get out there and play. You have, like we said, nothing to lose. They're friendlies, so who cares? Maggie Graham, U23 camp for the U.S., which was in collaboration with the first team as well. So she got to train and practice with A.B. Patterson and Yasmin Ryan at the same time. Was also under the tutelage of Emma Hayes, which is very important. Don't know if they had any scrimmages or if Ireland brought a younger squad or they played their sub squad or the bench or whatever. But Maggie Graham was at the U23 camp and trained alongside the first team. Maggie Graham.
Man, another player to watch. It's just insane how the rough talent, or you could say the raw talent that we have right now, that it really just takes dedication and time to develop over time. And man, we got a lot of weapons in this team. It's just incredible. We haven't seen anything like this before. Obviously, we had players called up in the past, but several young players, and also in the national team, it's just unprecedented. So it's definitely good times, talent-wise, for the Dash, just to look forward to. And man, we need to take advantage of that.
You're right, and Fabrice has yet to figure out where he likes to play her the most, or maybe he knows where he wants to play her, but he hasn't been able to due to injuries, due to international duty, due to other circumstances. So we'll see what happens in the second half, but obviously a lot of potential there. if we can just find out what to do with her, where to play her, then we'll be good. All right, moving on. Michelle Alozia. She's with Nigeria, and Nigeria is playing the women's AFCON, and they're going for their 10th title, which is sounds like it's pretty amazing. I don't know how long that tournament's been going on or the details of the tournament, but still, Nigeria is playing this tournament. I believe there's 12 teams in this tournament. They're playing in 3 different groups. They'll have 3 games, I believe. Andreas, you have the schedule in front of you. I didn't have the TV schedule. If y'all want to, watch Nigeria play, there's 2 reasons. Michelle Alozia, right? And then when we get into the transfer news, there's a player right there that we just want to bring over here. There's a player to watch who scored in a friendly just a couple days ago. That's also on that team and is a free agent right now. But, Andres, how are the schedule for Nigeria coming up in this WAPCON?
Yep, it all starts this weekend on Sunday. And Nigeria is facing Tunisia on July 6th. And next week, they also come back to play Botswana on Thursday. And the next Sunday after that, they're going to play Algeria, and that's on July 13th.
Favored to get out of that group heavily, from what I understand and what it looks like. Nigeria is, going for their 10th title, and you name those 3 teams, and you look at them, and they're lowly ranked on the world rankings. So they'll get out of a group. It looks like I believe there's, like I said, 3 groups. I believe it's top 2 get out, and then they take 2 second place or 2 third place teams advance. So
Yep.
100% Nigeria is going to advance and get into the elimination round. So Michelle Alozia will be missing for the next month. So y'all look it up if y'all are interested. Follow it. It'll probably be on one of the networks, Paramount or ESPN maybe. ESPN Plus, sorry. But, all right, that's Michelle Alozia and Nigeria. And we'll come back to the Michelle Alozia topic with Nigeria later in the transfer news. All right. Andreas is going to smile or blush or something now because we're moving to Venezuela, to the other side of the continent. We're moving south, and we're talking Barbara Olivieri and Venezuela.
Yeah.
Venezuela playing in the women's. I'm just going to call it the Women's Copa America. And this is going to be an interesting tournament. And I'll let you know, and I'll just let you tell me the schedule, and I'll let you tell me what you expect from Venezuela, and can they make it through the group stage? And I believe it's 10 teams in this tournament, 2 groups of 5, and the top 2 teams from each group advance, if I'm correct. But Andreas, this is Venezuela. This is your territory. Why don't you just take the table?
I was gonna give you a little bit more context because CONMEBOL, not just the men's but also the women's, it's so competitive that just by having talent is not enough. You need more than talent. You need physicality. You need tenacity. You have to grind for past 90 minutes, past extra time. You cannot quit. You gotta keep going 100% because any team, regardless of their strength in the roster or anything like that, if you keep pushing, you can always break through. And I feel like that's the thing with CONMEBOL on both sides of the ball.
Right.
With the women's side, Venezuela itself, historically speaking, has not been very good, but they've been on the rise slowly, only because of the talent that's going out of the country. An issue with the federation here and there, which is a different conversation, but Venezuela themselves, they've been slowly progressing over time. And when it comes to international competitions, opponents have been kind of hard to come by to just test ourselves and just keep going. And this is a time where we have a new head coach that has been experimenting with the team a little bit with some opponents here and there. And Barb can definitely just be a key piece in that equation. And I'm really looking forward to how this team performs. And just going back to CONMEBOL and how the tournament is structured, it's very difficult to go through because like you just mentioned, it's only 2 groups of 5 teams each, and only the top 2 advance. So it's literally top 2 advanced semifinals already. So it's kind of real insanity. So
Don't make a
it's a
mistake
matter
in
of
group.
like literally like it's a win is so massive, like you have no idea, and like a draw or a loss, like it's really a matter of what's going on in that game and the scenarios and all that. But it sets the stage of how difficult it is. But La Copa America Femenina, like it's a interesting competition. It's definitely a contest like compared to like the males version. It's one that needs more, that has to gain more traction over time. It has like a fairly young history, and I hope it just keeps growing because it's definitely a good competition. And South American soccer, not just the men's but also the women's, is on the rise. So something to keep an eye on. And
Well, it
Venezuela,
should be
they
very
do,
interesting because you started off
yeah.
strong right off the bat, don't you?
Well, yeah, it's just trying to explain the how big this tournament is and like how the meaning of it more than anything. So it's for them, for the team, and especially a young team that is trying to still find its own footing. It's a good place to make a statement.
All right, so Venezuela's in Group B. So tell me who's in your group and what is the schedule for everybody to follow. Again, I didn't see the TV schedule for this as well. So if we do find it, we'll go ahead and post it on our social outlets and let you know if you would like to follow along with Barbara Oliveri, which will most likely start in most of the games. They have a couple other two prime targets on Venezuela that you can shout out. I don't remember the names right off bat. I was doing a little research, but tell me the group, tell me the schedule, and do you think they can make it out of the group in first or second?
I feel like second is viable, but it's gonna take a lot of, I don't want to say luck, but I could say like a lot of positive performances and results because we have two opponents to watch, and the one of them, which is the first team we're playing, it's gonna be Brazil. So it's
Yeah.
we're this it's like right off the bat we're playing Brazil.
Ooh-wee.
I think they're the best women's team in South America. So it's just a matter of how can you stand up against them. So it's gonna take, that game's gonna be insane. So I'm definitely gonna watch that game for sure, and that's gonna be on July 13th. So next weekend. Second game, also tough one because we're facing Colombia, another pretty solid women's team, and that's gonna be on Wednesday, July 16th, also at 7 p.m. Next game, the schedule's gonna get a little bit loose for us in terms of strength, so it's a good opportunity to start getting those wins, but it's still gonna be a pretty tough match either way. July 19th, that's a Saturday. It's gonna be against Bolivia at 4 p.m. And the week after that's gonna be the last group stage game for Venezuela, which is gonna be against Paraguay on July 25th, and that's on a Friday at 7 p.m.
So what it sounds like, you feel Colombia and Brazil. Obviously, Brazil will be the better team, and Venezuela's the third place team if you write everything down on paper right now. So depending on how Venezuela can perform and how the girls can perform, they can overcome Colombia or they can overcome Brazil and make it into that top two. But as you said, that's two tough competitors right there. And obviously, watching our teams play, we can't falter against smaller competition. So you're supposed to win those other two games that, as you mentioned, the third and fourth games. So can Venezuela do something against Brazil and Colombia, earn some kind of points? 2 points, maybe a point. I don't know how confident that is, but then you come into the last two games and you get 6 points. Then you're depending on and relying on other stuff. So good luck with that. I'll definitely be interested in that first game, especially, Tarciano, our old Dash player, will be playing against Barb. I want to see if they want to hug each other. But that will be interesting. Just top Brazil versus Venezuela will be an interesting game regardless. But as we mentioned, all right, that'll be a month long, and that one is in Ecuador, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, Ecuador, and the Nigerian the WAFCON will be held in Morocco. Sorry. So if you read the Dash Dispatch, and I put the times, obviously Venezuela or Ecuador is going to be local time because we're in the same time zone, but Not Nigeria. Morocco will be way ahead of us, 5 to 6 hours ahead of us. So be privy to that. That tournament will be harder to watch, but you can always watch replays on YouTube. I'm pretty sure of it, or on ESPN Plus, or blah blah blah. All right.
I do have the broadcast info for both competitions before we move on. So the women's AFCON is going to be on Fox Sports. Depending on the game. Oh wait, no, the women's AFCON is going to be on beIN Sports.
What sports?
Copa America beIN Sports. It's a channel, beIN Sports.
Spell it.
And also BEIN Sports.
Oh, beIN. Oh yeah. Okay, yeah. Just
beIN Sports. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
And that's going to be for the women's AFCON, Copa America Femenina. The women's Copa America is going to be on Fox Sports.
Okay. I got Fox Sports, so damn. I kind of want to watch the other one too, though, because I'm rooting for somebody over there besides Michelle.
Yeah. Like if it's on the extra, sometimes they have like the extra channels which are free of charge. You only have to stream those.
Yeah.
Sometimes they show games there, so you might have to check it out.
All right, we'll do your best. We'll do our best, y'all, and we will post when they score, or when our players score. How about that? Because we're expecting them to score.
Yes.
Michelle is probably more defensive. Barb is offensive. So we'll see. We'll follow along though.
Yeah.
All right. Ooh, I say. Avery Patterson, Yasmin Ryan, top dogs right now, and Avery Patterson is a friggin' star. Yasmin Ryan is finding the motorboat now. She's finding the motorboat, and that spark has been ignited, and she is finding her groove. U.S. women's national team played 3 friendlies, 2 against Ireland, 1 against Canada, all on home soil, all clean sheets, 4-0, 4-0, and 3-0. Looks good. Emma Hayes is looking good, but Canada was the bigger surprise. 3-0 dominating. Ireland, you didn't, whatever. That's Ireland. You beat them. No competition there. But let's go to our girls. Avery Patterson started game number 1 and game number 3. Yasmin Ryan came in for 6 minutes in game number 1, started game number 2. Patterson did not play game number 2. And then Ryan came in minute 81 in game number 3. Andreas, I neglected to tell you in the media files, if you just want to play them concurrently, is all 3 goals. It'll say Avery, Ryan, and Ryan. If you just want to play those, and we'll just talk about them as they're playing. But Avery Patterson with her first international goal, and it took her 18 minutes to do this in the first game against Ireland. Made it 1-0. It was a cross. It was a beautiful header. It was sweet, and you're like, woo! And then you're like, when you saw that, it was Avery too, because it was like a header. You had to focus for a second. That's Avery. And it was just
so unbelievable.
It was pretty. It was just pretty. And then Yasmin Ryan getting her first international goal in the second game, and then her second international goal in the third game. But as I said, Andreas has got the clips. If y'all want to see him, if you hadn't seen him, you want to see him again, I think we should see him again, right?
Yep. Let's see it, man. Like, it's insane.
Short corner. Lavelle drives it off the right foot. Knock it down. Go.
I'll take it. I mean, the placement was there.
Yeah, he went straight to her, too.
The keeper. Yeah, it was straight to the keeper, but still, it's tough.
Like
headers are tough, man. Like, they make it look easy.
Avery wasn't proud of her response, of her celebration either, for what it sounded like after the game, which was funny. But if you want to go ahead and play the other two, the 2 Yasmin Ryan clips as well, and get those goals out of the way, but Avery Patterson with her first goal, and then here's Yaz. Good work right there.
All right. She was left wide open.
Wide open. I think they kind of fell asleep because they thought the ball was going to go out of bounds.
Yeah, but I thought so too. But I mean, don't leave a striker open in the box.
Yeah, hey, no, yeah, never, right?
And away goes the Washington Star. Offloads now. Ryan onto that left foot.
Man,
She had the
that
vision
one,
on that
yes,
one.
yeah, she did. I was thinking the same thing because, like, from that position, it's kind of a disadvantage for the goalkeeper because there was one defender blocking her view straight where Jasmine was, and that was definitely an advantage for Jasmine to just wait a little bit, find it the right side of the foot, and just put it past the keeper. And from that, like from like you could say probably a second, like a 1 second reaction from the foot to the goal. It was like that's a killer instinct that we need, and those are the type of goals the Dash needs. So incredibly amazed that Jas got her 2 goals like this. Wonderful.
Put her in a position to do it and showcased her. So I hope Fabrice was watching and paying attention. Used her a little bit different as well. So something to be interesting in. You put a striker in front of her and she plays in the midfield and just creates and does something and scores 2 goals in a row. Boom, boom. I like it very much. I hope this is the fire and the spark that she needed to give her this confidence is what I think was lacking with this team. Of course, playing with USA, you're going to have a lot of confidence, right? Come back to the Houston Dash. Is your confidence still going to be there? So hopefully she brings it with her and she keeps it because, you know, you got Avery Patterson next to you. You have Barb Oliveri coming back. You have other players next to you fighting and ready to go. And just, man, if we could just put it all together, you have a team with some good talent. Just cannot connect the friggin' dots. But USA International Duty, Avery Patterson, Yasmin Ryan. Big shout out to y'all. Ooh, I say.
Amazing.
Yeah, absolutely, bro. Absolutely. All right, man. That was breathtaking. That was fun.
Mm-hmm.
Watching those games too was quite fun. All 3 of those games, I liked them like 3 days apart. Usually you only get 2, but you got 3. And you were looking forward to him because you had a lot of hope in watching for Avery Patterson and Yasmin Ryan as well. Quick shout out while we're here with the U.S. women's national team. Jane Campbell obviously is not getting that time, but the keeper that got the time and played this weekend, actually, the keeper did pretty friggin' well. So there's a lot of fight right there. And so it means something. With Emma Hayes pays attention. She wants you to be domestic. She wants you to play. She wants you starting. She wants you fit, blah, blah, blah. Well, Jane's not playing. She is playing now, per se. She only played 1 game, so we'll see if it continues. But there's a lot of talent with the keepers. And I don't know. Jane just needs to stick to her dad's job right now, maybe.
Man, this is the expectation that comes with the best women's team in the world, and obviously we can make the case when it comes to Spain, France, and all these countries. But this is a historical organization that has so much expectations out of the players, and the core is so deep that it's kind of difficult to make it back to the roster or the national team roster. Like if you drop your performance like 1 bit, and look, it's a little bit kind of unfair for Jane because she got called up recently, but not for this camp. But it kind of comes with a jersey that you're wearing, especially with the U.S. women's national team. And if you slack for a second, like they're gonna take it from you. But I know that Jane Campbell's gonna get that shot again, hopefully soon.
Yeah, I agree with you, man. She'll get it soon. She'll get it back. She'll be fine. While we're in international duty, shout out to the Golden Boot leader in the NWSL, Esther Gonzalez, who plays for Gotham and who plays for Spain internationally. The Spain won their game 5-0 against Portugal today, but she had a brace in her first international game. Or not her first international game. I think it's a first maybe Spanish player in the NWSL that, I don't know. Let's forget it. Anyways, but she had 2 goals, So shout out to her as they won their game 5-0 in the Euros, which is a real game. So they just demolished their rival Portugal, which is insane. Sorry, Portugal.
Yeah.
Oh, I guess, moving on. The NWSL released a free agent list, which I don't know how before we even get into the free agent list, I don't know how I even feel about it. I mean, I guess we know they're free agents because contracts are up, right? But not only do they announce that these players are free agents at the end of the season, but they're allowed to negotiate with a team for next season. So potentially I can call Angel City and sign a contract with Angel City for next season and still play half a season with the Houston Dash. Like, how does that work? I don't understand that in the first place. So very, very hard. I only imagine this is for players who don't get minutes, or I don't know. I wouldn't want to be Katie Lynn, who's a free agent. So, but like I said, before we get into the players, what are your thoughts on that anyways? Not just announcing it, but saying, hey, you can search for a team while you're still playing for a team for another 3-4 months.
Yeah, I think this came maybe out of the previous new CBA that players are allowed to start negotiating with teams, and I feel like, in a way, like just playing devil's advocate is just like a little bit. It's definitely just negative for clubs to just start negotiating, because I feel like at that point the player could start like taking the highest bidder, or it's gonna make it a little bit hard to do negotiations with. But at the same time, I do like the transparency out of the process when it comes to letting the players have the choice of going to other clubs if they feel like they need to move somewhere else or they're not getting enough playing time. And it's good. I was more so surprised that they're already like the league itself is just like putting like a list of players that are amazing that could potentially be free agents that in the current season and just for next year being a different team. So like you said, it's a little bit crazy when you think about it, because you could sign a contract now, you're gonna be playing for this team next year, or you're gonna be playing for the other team.
Yeah, for real. So you mentioned like the top 10 free agents for 2026, the NWSL. I sent you the picture via text a while ago. Sophia Wilson is number one. She's pregnant. She's with Portland. They'll be crazy not to re-sign her, and I don't know why she would want to leave, unless daddy's somewhere else. Trinity Rodman with Washington. It's what?
It's right there. It's right there, bro. Come on, Angela.
Well, she's
Angela.
She's going to Europe,
Angela.
Right? She's going to Europe.
I know.
So, we'll
Angela.
Angela. You're right, Angela. Come on, bring Trinity in. Bring Trinity in. All right. Kansas City's got a Diaz Zanarato at number 3. Number 4, Labanta. Yeah, starting to fall in love.
Nightmare against us.
She gets her time with you.
Sign her up.
Sign her up, right? Free agent. How? How do you not have an extension on her right now? Midge Purge. Purse. You mentioned her on last episode there. So, I mean, we're in the number 5, and you've said yes to all 5 so far. So bring them all in. But Midge Purse is somebody you mentioned on the last episode or an episode or 2 ago as somebody that you would love to come in. And again, these are 26 free agents, so we could sign somebody, but they won't be here till next season. We're more desperate as somebody right now. So, do you? I got to take care of something real quick, but I'll ask you a question, let you answer while I run real quick. But would you take? That's number 5. Sorry, number 6. Jess Fishlock from Seattle. Casey Murphy from North Carolina. Melanie Barsenius from San Diego. Here's another one. Ji So Young from Seattle as well is an interesting player that some people have mentioned. And then Carson Pickett from Orlando. Well, so we're kind of in need of a striker now. Not kind of. We are in need of a striker now. But would you take one of these strikers now for 2026 and then kind of play off like I get a pass this season and I just need to continue to build? Or what would you do? Let's just go say, hey, just for bullshit's sake, I go sign Trinity Rodman. She's not coming till next season. What am I doing right now to finish off this season? Do I blow the rest of the season away because I know it's coming in? Or do I still try to fill that slot with something that I know is not going to be relevant later because something's coming?
It definitely comes down to the approach of how you want your roster to be and the needs more than anything. And for this case, I feel like if you have the opportunity and are very close to sign somebody like Sophia Wilson or Trey Rodman or Mitch Pierce, it's more so like you cannot pass up this opportunity. You're going to have it for next year. Obviously, they're not going to be here for 2025, but if you're going to have them, that's an incredible opportunity. And just this team's going to look completely different next year. But if that happens, it's more so like, okay, we have her locked down for next year. What's going to happen this year? And look, we do have the pieces here in the team, but at the same time, we've been stuck with them for so long, and we've been trying to like do variations of like things that can work out. Or I mean, if you can find somebody else that can just be that depth piece that we need, it could be a difference. But I'm not Angela. I'm not in this. I'm not managing the team. I'm not a Fabrice to like try and work out with her to see what type of player that we need to like get us to the next level, or just be that game changer. Because I feel like we could use a striker, but I feel like a game changer that it's also a striker is gonna be a whole new level. But of course, that's me asking out for a lot of things. So definitely, like if you have the opportunity to sign someone from this list, go for it because it's not gonna happen again, more than likely.
There's a couple on the list. I mean, there's not a couple on the list. There's a few on the list I'll take for sure. There's a couple on the list that could be realistic, and we'll see as time moves forward. As you mentioned, Mitch first. We've already got 3 Gotham players here, so excuse me. She may want to come here and be comfortable with other players that she's already comfortable with, so that could be a plus. That's something to look at. Ooh. Sophia Wilson, come on, baby, bring your kid to Houston and let him burn in the heat. Or her. I don't know if you have a male or female. Sorry. All right. But free agent list, we do have 5 Houston Dash players on that free agent list. Let's start with the first one. Abby Smith will be a free agent at the end of the year. So the question we'll ask that we were going to ask earlier that we saved for now is the signing of Liz Beardsley, the 3rd string keeper who has not seen a minute worth of time for the Dash yet, has now signed an extension, leaving Abby Smith as the 2nd string keeper or the 1st string keeper. You don't know. Does this mean it's the end of the road for Abby Smith? Is immediately what I thought when I saw this extension. Jane Campbell started last game. She may be back in the helm, and we may never see Abby Smith start again. And you may see Beardsley come in and start maybe a second game or start in these games in the friendlies. So interesting signing, as you said earlier. But what are your thoughts with Abby Smith as a free agent?
I still feel like the door's still open for her to come back for at least a couple more seasons in Houston, depending how she wants to approach her professional career. And we kind of already talked about Liz Beardsley signing that extension. It's more so like for all those years that Liz just signed on, it feels like she is going to be guaranteed a shot for the second string position, and like it could turn out to be like that. So more than anything, like if Abby Smith is willing to resign, she definitely earned it. I don't think there's question to it whatsoever. If he's able to find a good deal for her, go for it. And I do know that obviously her playing well at this point of the season, other teams are going to try to get her signature because she's definitely capable of keeping a starting spot somewhere else if that's the case. So I definitely understand if she's in in that mindset of trying to find a starting spot elsewhere. But yeah, if she gets resigned by the Dash, I definitely welcome that for sure.
If I'm Abby, I don't know if I'm resigning just because you said it. I can still start somewhere, so I want to start. The only reason I would stick around is I'm comfortable here, and the potential that Fabrice can start at any keeper at any moment, and you just don't know what you're going to get. Kind of thing is all right. I'll stay with you. 3 keepers, and you're flipping the coin of who's going to start. So.
Yeah, I definitely get that for sure. If she's not comfortable with that, I definitely get it. Because, like we say in every episode, if you do good at practice, you're gonna play. So, you can have a good day, you can have a bad day in practice and not play, and you can just be a starter, like constant starter for Houston. But if you have a bad practice day, you might not play next game. So I definitely get that for sure.
All right, y'all. I know y'all hear the noodles, the water is starting to boil over there in the background, so it's getting ready to be noodle time.
Yeah, it's almost boiling.
We're not done. We're not done over here. We're not done over here. All right, man. 4 other free agents for the Houston Dash: Ryan Garys, Evelina Duljan, Katie Lynn, and then oh crap, who's the last one? How the freak do I forget the last one?
Ryan Garys, Doljan, Belbreed.
Oh yeah, Belbreed. That's why I forgot about her. Yeah. So Belbreed will do easy. She hasn't played a minute at a time, so good free agent. Go sign somewhere. Go be ready to do something. Go find something. You're not getting a minute here, so we don't even have to talk about you. You're good. Maybe you can play in the next 2 games in the friendlies and give yourself an opportunity to get out there and get some minutes on the field during a regular season game. But the other 3, Katie Lynn, Ryan Garys, Evelina Duljan. Real quick, mine, Katie Lynn, man, it's questionable because I don't know if she's back to her old ways and if she's just hit the top. Evelina Duljan, I would love to keep. I think she's just looking for the next home and hasn't found that comfortable home yet. And then Ryan Garys, I think, could definitely be a great piece to the team to hold on to. Her husband just moved to Utah, so there's a possibility of her going to the Utah Royals, of course. But well, I don't know. So they're pieces I can keep, but if I can replace them with someone to help me forget them too, then peace be with it. But free agent list, what do you think about those 3?
I feel like for them, Belbreed, I find it hard for her to be resigned unless there's a special plan that I don't know or I'm aware about. But I feel like from those 3 players, I feel like the next contract they're gonna have to earn it, because it's kind of rough for me to say for Kaylin because she's been here for so long and she has contributed in so many ways.
Absolutely.
And I'm only saying that because this season has not been up to par with the other ones. Granted, she just came out of maternity leave, which is definitely a tough transition. And if they can work out a deal, I definitely welcome that. And I definitely would like to see her back and see her play very well. But as we are very aware, fortunately, this game is a business, and teams will have to fight for contracts, and teams have to build contracts at payrolls, which sucks. But yeah, I hope Katie Lynn gets re-signed, but then again, I do feel like she has to earn that contract. For Doljan and Garys, it's definitely I would definitely like to welcome back Doljan just because I like her how she plays, but of course the team themselves can see Doljan differently. If she plays very well for the remainder of the season, she might earn that spot. Same goes for Ryan Garys, even though she has been contributing in her own ways this season, so she might earn that contract. But I feel like especially for those 3, it's a matter of performance more than anything.
I guess only time will tell, and we'll probably hear if they're searching or talking to other teams. So we'll keep you updated and let you know if somebody finds somebody or is in negotiations with somebody and just proves a point. But like I said, it kind of sucks because you do that now, then you're basically saying, Coach, You're not going to play me no more, are you? So interesting.
Yeah,
Interesting
pretty
to see.
much.
Yeah, interesting to see. So, all right. For the last 5 minutes of the show, we get to do what we always do and become magicians, become wizards. We like to manifest and we like to proclaim things that may not be true, that could come true, that may be true, that may not be true, that we wish were true, that we could dream were true. But Andre,
Mine not maybe.
yeah, right? Why not maybe? Boom. I'm watching the replay with Spain, Portugal, and they literally scored after time was up, but the ref hadn't blown the whistle yet. All right, man. So we'll go through the list of our dream signings. Kat Macario. Kat Macario's with Chelsea, has 1 year left on her contract. It did not get to participate with the U.S. women's national team camp. The only reason we can know why is because Emma Hayes demands domestic players. Only one player on this camp that played in those 3 games that were involved with the team was not domestic, and that was the defender, starts with a P. Oh God. How do I forget her name? Starts with a P, bro, that just went to Chelsea. The badass defender for USA.
Mm.
Oh God. Anyways. All right, well, I'm sure everybody else that listens to the show is screaming at it right now, and I still can't hear y'all. So I apologize. We subbed her out at I forget what minute last night too as well, but she's our captain. Jesus Christ. Germa. G, not with a P, with a G. Germa. Sorry.
No, I mean, yeah, I was about to say like P.
Yeah, well, guess something. Shit. Germa, so I talked myself into figuring it out, but Germa is the only non-domestic player that is playing for the U.S. women's national team and happens to be the captain, so well done, well said. But Kat Macario did not get the invite, did not play. So, and she's in Chelsea. She's in a team that has 17 strikers, and 3 of them we would like.
Angela.
Yeah.
Angela.
Yeah. Boom.
Angela.
We say it. It's that genie lamp, Angela. So Kat Macario's one of them. I give y'all reasons why she needs to be here so Emma Hayes could use her and we can utilize her. All right. Bunny Shaw is one for Manchester City because they have a couple strikers over there, and Bunny Shaw was kind of injured. They have another striker they like, so I don't know which way they want to go, who they're going to do, if they want to use them both, or they're going to try to keep them both. They definitely can afford it. So Bunny Shaw's another pipe dream. Rasheedat Abajadi plays for Nigeria, played for Real Madrid, is now a free agent, said that she will not announce her next location until after WAFCON. WAFCON, right? Heard of that one earlier in the show.
Yeah.
Heard of that one. So, Michelle is not her roommate, from what I understand, but she's next door. Please bring that girl back home with you, Michelle, if you're listening to the show. I think that's somebody that would be extra special to this team, and the pieces would just fit. You know, we have other names on the list I just mentioned too that would fit too. So I'm not just super high on Abjadi, but she is a free agent. Come on, she's wanting to come to the NWSL. There's no rumors to where in the NWSL, so why not? Why not? And Michelle's right there in her ear, and you know Michelle has a good time, and Michelle's a fly person too. So gotta be saying it, man. So that's the list, man. That is the list of our dream sakers. Unless there's somebody else you want to add, since we've been talking about it for the past few weeks. But the transfer window is now open, so that's why Andreas is. Angela. He's throwing holy water, by the way. He's throwing holy water, by the way. Yeah.
Angela, please. Sign someone, please.
Yeah. Somebody of superstar caliber, please. No, money is not an issue. Tim Howard and Daddy Ted will take care of you, and Jessica will take care of you. So do it to it, bro.
Where's Tim Howard? Where is Tim Howard?
Tim Howard, bro. He's over there. Maybe he's over there. So we'll see. All right, y'all. Hey, comment down below what y'all think about our transfers. What y'all think about the free agent list. Who would y'all like to see become a Houston Dash? of the free agents that are ours, who would y'all like to keep, or who's a necessity y'all would like to keep? Continue on with Avery Patterson and Yasmin Ryan on international duty. So I want to hear from y'all when y'all see this. Comment, talk to us, let us know how you feel. Hey, I want to hear y'all. But Andres, the dynamic Foxtrot, I'm not going to ask you to do the socials tonight. You're going to do the socials here in another hour. But as we end,
Of course.
Dash Dispatch and do as we always do and throw those H's up, because we're about to pass it on to Mr. Segovia and Noodle Time, because not only is the water boiling, the noodles are cooking, and they're going to be hot ones tonight. There's going to be some spicy noodles. But, Andres, H is up. This is the Dash Dispatch. Thank y'all. Mark Segovia.
Just in case y'all ain't know, my town, we gon' put it in they face. Let them know, cause we don't play around. 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 Haters hate but lose when we in the race. Hey, we up in the place and we gon' put it in they face. Let them know, Houston Dynamo, Houston Dynamo, Houston Dynamo, Houston Dynamo.
What's up, Mark?
What's up, guys? How you doing, man? Welcome to Noodle Time, episode 146. Thank you, OSG. What a great episode of Dash Dispatch by the guys. You know, always shouting out the girls and following the Dash and all they're doing. So, but welcome to Noodle Time, guys. I'm your host, Mark Segovia, alongside Andres and little Juanito. What's going on, Juan? Oh, we got a mic issue, Juan.
Can you guys hear me now?
Oh, there we go. There we go, buddy.
I'm still getting used to the new mic. It has a mute button, which actually kind of like, sometimes I forget to turn it off.
Hey, sometimes we all forget to turn it off. What's going on, Andres?
So pretty good. Looking forward to another hour of soccer. I cannot get enough, man. We've been talking a lot of Dash, but it's time for Dynamo, man.
I
a
see,
lot
man.
to talk about.
Double duty, double shift for Andres. He's our Iron Man on the Noodle Time side of things. So. But that's good. That's good. Hey guys, but before we get started, man, you know, obviously I think we all woke up today to some horrible news in the soccer world. Diogo Jota, better known, you know, from Liverpool, a Portuguese winger, 28 years old, unfortunately passed away this morning our time. In Spain, alongside with his brother, a car crash on some highway, and unfortunately, you know, there was no survivors, and it was both of them in the car, and they both passed away. And obviously, we've seen all around social media and news outlets describing, you know, obviously the fact that, you know, he had just recently got married. You know, obviously he leaves behind a wife and 3 kids. Not only did he pass away, but his brother as well. A month after winning the Nations League with Portugal, and a couple of months after winning the Premier League with Liverpool, man. So, I mean, if we all can just, you know, just maybe have 20 seconds for number 20, Diogo Jota, of silence, you know. Appreciate you guys. Yeah, man, it sucks to hear news like that, man. Especially somebody so young and basically in the prime of their career. You know, obviously, for anybody who follows soccer, especially with the Premier League and the international teams and international competition, know who Diogo Jota is. One of the really true up and comers for Portugal, and one of the really, really great guys in the game. You know, it's an unfortunate thing, man, but. Descansa en paz, Diego. Rest in peace, Diogo. And, you know, our prayers and condolences to go out to him and his family. And, you know, just, man, it sucks to wake up to that kind of news. But, you know, yeah. But anyways, guys, with that being said, Obviously, man, we got a lot of stuff going on this weekend. Happy 4th of July to you guys. Obviously a little bit of early, all that good stuff. And obviously we got a lot of good stuff going on in the city. And not only obviously do we speak Dash, do we speak Dynamo, do we speak Dynamo Dos, but we talk about the soccer community in Houston as well. And obviously a lot of great things going to happen over the weekend with the Gold Cup final this Sunday, July 6th. NRG Stadium, Mexico versus USA, the two heavyweights of the CONCACAF champions of the CONCACAF region, going head to head in H-Town. Obviously, USA passing the semifinals on a 2-1 win over Guatemala, and Mexico squeaking by Honduras 1-0. So a lot of basically, I mean, the final that everybody wants, basically the final that I think we deserve. I mean, obviously there's other teams that might have thought that they had a better chance to get there, but obviously at the end of the day, the results matter. And obviously USA Mexico is always a good time, and especially for the first time being hosted as a final here in Houston. Juan, I'll go to you since you're our fairly new guy, on the show, and we want to get to hear that. We want you to test out that new mic of yours. Mexico, USA, your thoughts on this game for this Sunday, man?
Dude, when I tell you I am excited, that is not an understatement. Not because of the scenario that we're in, which is Mexico versus USA. It seems like we get that every time, or almost every time, but it's because of the weird context surrounding each team. Obviously, Mexico, coming off a couple years of struggling, now seeming like they're a little bit on the rise. But even then, I say that kind of in quotations because it's still looking a little iffy. In the United States, sending out their C team this time, just kind of praying and seeing what's going to happen. So it's given the chance for one of our own in Jack McGlynn to step up and have a relatively decent role on that team for the USA. So I'm honestly pretty excited for that final because I have a feeling we're going to see one person from either side become a cult hero for their fan bases for at least the next half decade, maybe even a decade, depending on how the game goes. And since it's at Houston, you already know there's going to be a lot of Mexicans around. I think it honestly might be a pretty even showing by both sides. Houston, obviously a lot of Mexicans, but also a lot of Hondurans, Guatemalans. It's a pretty balanced city, so I could expect to see a lot of USA fans as well. So, dude, I'm so excited for that final, man.
Yeah, for sure, man. I mean, it's one of those things where it's like you mentioned, the USA, the way they were coming into this tournament, it was a lot of questions, a lot of what ifs, a lot of wondering if Pochettino was going to make it out as the manager for the national team. Obviously, a bunch of the European players not available. Some of them playing in the Club World Cup with their respective teams, and others deciding to take some time off because of the long season that they have with their respective clubs. Andres, I'll come to you, man. Obviously, Mexico, USA is always it's the classic matchup and things of that nature. Is there a part of you that would have loved to seen somebody like Guatemala come through, or even Honduras?
I'm a US fan, but I was actively rooting for Guatemala because they've been having a pretty good tournament, and they definitely earned their spot. And they got pretty close against the USA in the second half. They fought so hard. It was unfortunate because they conceded 2 goals very early, and the first half they struggled to come back on that. Second half was a different story. They were just pressuring the US all the way, and it's just unfortunate that we weren't able to equalize to get to extra time because they definitely earned a spot. I love watching them play in this tournament, and they provided a lot of support during the Gold Cup, so the fans definitely deserve it. I hope they qualify for the World Cup, and man, that was a great game to watch. Same goes for the Honduras Mexico, but I feel like Honduras Mexico was just like a lot of fighting, and Mexico just happened to win.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, the great thing about this tournament is that right after a lot of World Cup qualifiers is coming up, right? And then obviously a lot of opportunities for teams that normally don't have the opportunity because obviously we all know USA, Mexico, and Canada have already qualified for being as hosts. So it's something great to see. I have to piggyback off what Andres says, even though obviously Guatemala was going out against the USA, man, Guatemala has been has been improving drastically the last 2 to 3 years, man. And I love the improvement that they've shown, and the positive progression that they keep going on. You know, they're growing their players. They're knowing how to train. They're playing really. They have a style and things of that nature. You know, and it's fun to see. One is something you wanted to add?
No. I think you hit it straight on the money. I'm not gonna add
Okay.
anything to that.
Sounds good. But yeah, man, I'm excited for the final, Mexico versus USA. Man, you know, and another thing, what Andres said, I mean, I think Guatemala played USA well. Obviously, Diego Luna, who's been really the shining star for the USA, along with Tillman and Patrick, have really gotten together and have really taken the bull by the horns and taking advantage of this opportunity. And if Pochettino is the coach at the World Cup for the USA, which, to be honest, I don't see why he wouldn't be. I mean, I think Diego Luna and those two other guys have a really, really good shot at not only being on the team, but possibly getting big minutes. You know, the thing is, I think the fact that these European players took the time off away from this tournament when it's supposed to be a really important tournament, as one of the last times that the team would be able to get together and have significant time together as a squad, kind of really spoke a lot loud to that coaching staff. So we'll see what happens. At the end of the day, it's the coach's job to place the best 11 available for the squad. So we'll see what happens. Before we move on, projections. Andres, who do you think wins?
Man, it's gonna be a tough game.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's gonna be an even game, which is gonna be great to watch. But I feel like a lot of things can happen, and it really depends on how the US hold up to Mexico's press. I feel like that's gonna be a difference here. So I'm gonna say US winning penalty kicks.
Okay,
which is fine with this team. So
nice, Juan.
Yep.
I'll go if Jack McGlynn starts. USA win. If he doesn't start, then they lose, and Pochettino hopefully learns his lesson. Because I'm going to be real, whenever McGlynn steps on the field, just off the set pieces alone, he offers so much to that team. And you can argue, yeah, it's the end of the second half, everybody's tired, so obviously a player like that makes a difference. But to me, it's pretty clear he's been one of their premier chance creators once the game is dying down. So I hope he starts. Just, you know, hometown as well, Houston. And hopefully he does well.
Obviously, you know, a lot of good news on the Jack McGlynn side of things as well. We'll discuss that a little later on. But for me, you know, man, you know, the reemergence of Raúl Jiménez has really brought Mexico back from the dead, to be honest, in my opinion. You know, obviously a lot of pressure has been put on Santi Jiménez, and unfortunately for him, he hasn't shown that he's capable of being that starting striker, even though he's playing in Europe for a big club like Milan, and he was scoring crazy in the Dutch league prior to that. But he, for some reason, is not connecting for whatever reason. But it helps to have a crafty veteran like Raúl Jiménez, you know, and I think because of that, and I think because this, along with the 2026 World Cup, will be his swan song, I think he wants to show up and be that, you know, that signature player for this team. Obviously, we know the type of players they have with Edson Alvarez and Alexi Vega and those guys. But I think Raúl Jiménez wants to put a stamp on this tournament and show that he was the best player in this tournament, and maybe even go after the Golden Boot. So I think Mexico's going to pull it out, you know, maybe a close game. I think this will be a huge test for these young American players. But I think it's going to be a 3-2 game, Mexico.
Wow.
Raúl Jiménez with a brace. So we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. You know, but like I said, you know, Sunday night, NRG. Guys, you know, if you get the opportunity to go. It's going to be a great atmosphere. I know that there's a lot of stuff going on, planning around as far as around the stadium and festivities. I think the festivities start around 1. I think the gates open around 5. So I mean, you got plenty of times to go, tailgate or go enjoy what's going on, and get a little drink on, do a little the adult beverage, along the side, whatever. It's going to be like 100 degrees out there, so make sure to stay hydrated and all that good stuff. But with that being said, guys, finally, man, a little bit of pressure off these shoulders, man, because the Dynamo have finally won a game, and not only won a game, they finally won at home. It's a man. I wish I had a little button to be just I need to get me a little button,
A little
but
happiness for
but
you.
my guy, little for a little, he's happy,
Yeah.
he's happy for a little bit, but it's a 1-0 win over St. Louis City, who isn't the best club out there in the world, right? I mean, but obviously we'll take a win however we can get at this point, to be honest. Obviously, the goal scorer was Isico Ponce, off an assist from Felipe Andrande, who we'll mention here in a bit. Your thoughts on the game, Andres, as far as how the Dynamo played? The fact that obviously Ponce got on the scoreboard. The fact that we saw Andrade again being involved with the goal scoring, even though he's a defender. Inali getting more minutes, things of that nature. Your thoughts on the game and everything that's going on with St. Louis?
A must win heading into this game was an understatement, because you were expected to win this game no matter what. And look, on paper, Houston did the job. They got the win here, but at the same time, it was more so of the current issues that we have. And it's also great that Ponce was able to score, get in the score sheet. On top of that, our first clean sheet in over a month, which is great.
Mm-hmm.
So our first clean sheet and our first win in over a month. And you could say, like I said, St. Louis is not the best opponent right now. Offensively, they're not as threatening as they used to be. And everyone kind of expected us to win this game. But at the same time, there were definitely holes, like really gaping holes in the front of the field, when we were expected to keep creating chances after chances with chance to try and score and keep the game away from St. Louis, or just make it seem like we're controlling things. And in some parts of the game we were doing that, but at the same time, just looking back, even on the highlights, it was more so the same of us looking for the perfect opportunity to shoot inside the box, not taking a lot of chances without Jack McGlynn, and it's kind of more so the same. But I'm happy we got the win. I'm still kind of upset with how the month of June turned out to be, because we set ourselves back by a lot, and it's gonna be on the players and the coaches and the team as a whole to just get out of it.
Yeah, for sure. What's up, Jared? What's up, OSG? They're all both going for USA, saying that they're going to bring the trophy home. We'll see what happens with that. Juan, obviously, you just joined the show, so I don't know how much of the previous shows you've listened to or you've heard, but I came in, and they'll tell you, man, I came in here with a lot of positivity, a lot of pounding my chest, I'm thinking the Dynamo are finally going to go over that hump and going to make a legit run into being, maybe not top echelon in the conference, but middle of the pack, battling for 3, 4, 5 spot. Obviously, that wasn't the case. I looked at June and I'm like, man, there's no way that this team can't at least get 7 points out of this month. Again, they proved me wrong, and they get only 3. Your thoughts on this month of June, just overall, because I mean, obviously, you're joining us for the first time this month, and your thoughts on this past game with against St. Louis, and your thoughts just on the Dynamo overall as a club at the moment.
I mean, the month itself was disappointing, and it wasn't the results alone. It was the teams that you faced and the wasted opportunity you had.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
I remember, I forgot if it was Montreal or I forgot which team it was, but one game we started off really, really well, Kawasha with the goal, and I was feeling like, this might be a good month for us. And then, you give up 3 goals, you give up 3 goals again, and looking at this month, you can tell that missing Jack McGlynn hurt a lot. But also, kind of on the other side, on the left wing, not having, I guess, having Holmes and Anali on a minutes restriction also hurt the team a lot, because with Jack McGlynn out, you need someone else to step up, but nobody else really did until last game against St. Louis, which is why I might be a little bit more optimistic than you, Mark or Andres. I do think this team has pieces at the end, and not pieces like we say with the Dash, where it's like there's something you can build around in the future. No, I think there's something here that you can build on right now to maybe make a run in September. Because remember, sometimes it's not the best team that ends up going to the final or the semifinal. It's the team who's the hottest. I remember 2023, first half of the season was a little bit better than this half that we're having right now, but not that much better. And then the second half, after Leagues Cup, everything just flipped on its head. And we became, I think, one of the best 4 teams in MLS just because you figured something out tactically. I think for me, I'm leaning towards that happening once McLean comes back, Inali and Holmes start getting more consistent minutes. We saw against St. Louis. The moment Inali came in, he offered something completely different. And he always does. I mean, are we even surprised? Are we even surprised at this point? Like, the guy is just unreal talent. If he didn't get injured, man, I still think about last season, what could have been maybe the MLS Cup, because honestly, we broke the single season points record for our franchise. And imagine if he was there making runs in behind. Like, the guy has an insane amount of talent. And Holmes behind him offers something a little different. I like that they were in a tandem, because you could tell the opposition was getting kind of used to Holmes at the end of the first half. Then you switch it up and throw in an alley. And then instantly you create chances. Like, right after the first goal, we almost got a second Ponce missed a chance right there. So there's definitely pieces. And last game, the XG numbers were in our favor. It was like 2 to 0. Less than 0.5, I think. So if Inali and Holmes play the way they did last game and Jack McGlynn comes back, I don't see a way where we miss the playoffs. And I say that legitimately. As long as Inali and Holmes play to the level they did against St. Louis, I genuinely believe that.
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm not gonna sit here and bash the players. I agree with you. I think that as far as the team and the players that we have currently, I think we have talented players that can do a lot of things for us. Now, there's something that's not connecting, right? There's something about the chemistry and about the way that they're being placed that's not really catching on, and they're not taking advantage of their opportunities, right? I mean, think about it, guys. I mean, we lose 3-1 to Sporting Kansas City to the end of the month of May. Casey's a bottom feeder. We lose to Montreal 3-1, who is literally the worst team in Canada and the worst team in the league. You know, we lose 3-1 to Minnesota, which Minnesota's an okay team, but I mean, we showed earlier in the season that we had no trouble with them. You know, that we really, you know, they're really not that much of a better team than we are currently, right? So, but granted, I'll give you that one. And then, you know, obviously, you know, like I said, I'm glad that we won against St. Louis, but a 1-0 win over St. Louis is kind of you know, and at home. On top of that, you add that caveat of and at home. It's like, dude, I mean, we should be really taking advantage of these bottom feeding teams, scoring our goals, making things work, you know, building up that goal differential, moving up the table, and we're just not taking advantage of these opportunities, right? And look, I've mentioned it the show before prior, and we'll talk about it here a little bit in the upcoming minutes. But getting Anali back, you know, you can see that kid out there, his talent and his potential is astonishing to me. I feel like they found a diamond in the rough. I feel that once he's fully healthy and ready to go, he's going to showcase something that this Dynamo team haven't had in a long time, if ever, to be honest. A player who realistically, when he gets on the pitch, the game is slow to him. He's able to move around, pass the ball, dribble with ease. No problem at all. And then on top of that, you throw somebody like Felipe Andrade, who's come in and has just been an astonishing,
revelation.
Just crazy, you know, and you know, now you got two players, you know, who to be honest are playing above the level that they have on the pitch as far as opponent goes, right? But obviously, a team isn't made of 2 players. It's made up of 11, right, on the pitch. So we need to start getting a little bit more cohesiveness within the group and a lot more chemistry within the group, in my opinion, as far as, seeing who is really here to take advantage of their opportunity. Look, Nico Lodeto played his last game. He's gone, right? Jack McGlynn is with the USA men's national team. Obviously, he's going to come back, but he has qualifiers coming up as well. And on top of that, we don't know. Look, he might have raised his stock up. Obviously, we just heard the news this morning about him getting a brand new contract and a little bit more money. He's still a U22 player, but maybe Dynamo just kind of covering themselves so that way whoever comes after them are going to offer something decent, as far as a transfer fee. And if somebody really wants him, the Dynamo can't really get in the way. He has to go, and that's fine. I never thought that Jack McGlynn was going to be somebody who was going to stay here and become a club legend. No, he's one of those players that's going to go move on to Europe and do his thing over there, which is fine. That's what we're doing. That's what we do. But with that being said, who takes that spot? Linger has been really quiet. Holmes, he's been on and off as far as he's been on the bench. He's only played 10 minutes here. He's only played 15 minutes there. Bossy is Bossy. Ponce, obviously Ponce. Like I said, I feel that Ponce can easily be a 20 goal scorer for us, but he doesn't have the people to give him the ball, get him in places to create and shoot. Who else? Kovalovic. Little Sebas has been kind of, man, I don't know. I feel like he should have been the one really taking advantage of the opportunities. He should have been the one taking advantage of the opportunities. He just hasn't. And it's just one of those things where do we go find this player in the transfer window? Is it even worth to go try? Because like I said, we'll talk about it later. But do we honestly think that the Dynamo can make a legit run at the playoffs? But we'll see with that. But with that being said, let me ask each one of you guys about these players. Andres, I want to ask you about Inali. Obviously we've been talking about him ever since he's come back and things of that nature. But do you think against San Diego, does he get a start? Does he finally get the start? Or are we still, hey, we want to make sure he's healthy, minutes restriction, maybe he one more time off the bench, and then when we come back for home, he starts?
I always wanted to start, but we're looking at a pretty bad injury, and it's definitely recovery itself. It's not just the almost entire year that he was sidelined, but it's also a matter of keeping him at limited minutes and wait for the right moment to just give him that start. And I still think he's very close to doing that. I do know that as much as Ben wants to start him, he has to take precautions around that, because this could have been a career-ending injury. It could still be that, and really hoping to everything that is holy, that's not the case. Mm-hmm. So we just have to preserve him as much as possible and let him play the minutes that he has to play, because we cannot risk that type of player, especially if we're looking at playing on artificial turf down the road, or anything like that, hard surfaces. We have to take precautions as much as possible.
Yeah, we have back-to-back games to start off July on the road against San Diego and Salt Lake, and then we come back at home against Vancouver on the 16th, which is a Wednesday. Do you think the 16th is possibly the date?
I think so. Yeah, like it's it could just be up over a month still. Well, at the same time, it's more so like I'll probably take that. Yeah, for the start. Sounds
good. Juan, I want to ask you about Felipe Andrade. Obviously he came in, started at Dynados. He comes in on the way he came in it's crazy, right? He came in because Escobar got red carded at the end of one game. So He had to come play. Obviously, he was going to play in the U.S. Open Cup. He played in the U.S. Open Cup. I think he scored in that game, if I'm not mistaken. And then obviously he was going to play in the MLS game the following weekend because Escobar had gotten a red card. And then since then, my man has like when I talk about grabbing the bull by the horns, he's grabbed the bulls. He grabbed the bull by the balls, and he's not letting go. He's not letting go. You know, like this guy, he's skyrocketing. Not just with the goal scoring, the involvement, the defense, the tenacity, man. It's just I'm loving it, man. Your thoughts on Felipe Andrade?
He reminds me a lot of I'm pretty sure Andres knows this guy, Aramburu from the Venezuelan national team.
Yeah.
If you know, you know.
Yeah.
And you literally said it, a bull. He reminds me of a bull. Just like Aramburu for Real Sociedad in Venezuela. He just plays like a bull that's just running around the entire field trying to start something. And now it's like Escobar that's trying to start a fight. Andrade is trying to start a counterattack or first person to run back. I think this was honestly the plan from the start. When I saw him at Dynamo 2, I could tell the quality was much higher than everybody else, which I attribute most of the success early on for Dynamo 2 to Andrade because he was just on another level. And I think the reason why he wasn't with the first team right away, I think it was something with his loan. Because if you remember, they extended his loan like a month ago. And ever since that point, he's starting to play consistent minutes with the first team. So I honestly really like his tenacity. You mentioned he's a bull. But even more than that, he gives you something on the right, which we don't see from Dorsey. Dorsey can obviously go out wide and he cuts inside sometimes, but he doesn't do it as much as we want. You don't know what Andrade is going to do once he's on the right. He combines really well with whoever's on that right side, whether it's Jack McGlynn or Lodeiro or Bassi or even Kowalczyk if he comes onto the other side. You can put him anywhere, even on the left side too, when it's filling in for Escobar. We haven't had a player like this since, Escobar, but Ben doesn't like to play him on the right. So I love what Andrade has added to this team, which I think is one of the few things that have gone better this season than it has last year, and it is our fullback flexibility. Like, I go into the next game not knowing who the two starting fullbacks are going to be. I don't know anymore. Because now that I'm thinking about it and how Andrade played against St. Louis, maybe put him on the right ahead of Dorsey. That might be a conversation we need to have, right? Considering the offense with Dorsey around, which, as we know, has been subpar. Maybe Andrade gives you a little something that Dorsey doesn't.
And and then obviously congratulations to him, MLS Team of the Week this past week. Obviously, so that's why we bring him up. Him and Nalia, like I said, we mentioned. I think that these two players are players that have the quality that is above average, and can be superstar level, right? And that's why we're kind of focusing on them, on these two. But I like what you said. I mean, look. Obviously, we have three quality fullbacks with Dorsey, Andrade now, and Escobar. So, and obviously we know how hot the days are here and summer the games are. So you can rotate, you can, this and that. They can all get their minutes, being rotated around, But the one thing that I would like to say, and maybe you guys, can combat me on this, or maybe you guys might disagree with me on this, but I do think that the two starting fullbacks should be Andrade and Dorsey. I mean, not Dorsey. I'm sorry, Escobar. I think Dorsey, obviously, we know he was an offensive player converted into a right back, right? He came to us as a winger, whatever. It didn't work out for him. They put him as a right back, and he's taken full advantage of that opportunity, right? He just wanted to get on the pitch and contribute to the team, and he's done that for the last 4 or 5 years that he's been with us. He's been a great soldier for us and all that good stuff, and I have nothing but respect for Dorsey. But defensively, I think he does lack a lot of defensive, a lot defensively, to be honest. And he focuses a little too much on the offensive side of the ball. Which, look, I'm not gonna sit here and not lie to you. I love seeing Dorsey score. I love seeing Dorsey cross the ball and be able to create and stuff like that. But obviously, it puts us on a little bit of a bind when we got to get back defensively, where he has to run back. Not that he doesn't hustle back, because that guy is always running he's always running his ass off. So, but with that being said, Do I think he would do a lot better if he comes in against tired legs? Yeah, for sure. But like I said, I think you have what Glenn Davis calls champagne problems, and the fact that you have quality players for two positions, and you have three players that are quality enough to play those positions and be starters. It's a good problem to have. So I like the fact that there's competition within the fullback positions.
Can I say something
This
real
week,
quick?
yeah, go ahead, Juan.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So with Dorsey, I love the guy.
Mhm.
Like, he's an amazing dynamo. He resembles what it means to be a dynamo, that toughness, that
Mhm.
grit, that always hustling, right? But for his position, it is hard to be every week, week in, week out, doing all that running and still being
Oh, for sure.
expected to be that main wide offensive threat on the right. Sometimes we forget that we don't play for right winger. We play with an inverted forward on the right, which means that
For sure.
our wide threat is just Dorsey. So the part of me wants to see what you were saying, Escobar and Andrade, but always put in Dorsey in the last 20 minutes when you need a goal or two. You know what I'm saying? Or whenever you need legs. Like, even if you're winning, like, Dorsey can offer you something defensively as well when it comes to the hustle, like you said.
Mhm.
But I don't know. For me, after the secret kind of wore out in 2023 of Dorsey being that overlapping fullback and teams weren't able to defend it, after
Oh,
that
they
secret
didn't know how
was,
to control that.
yeah, after teams learned, just double up on the right, don't let him cut inside. Once that
No, for
happened, it
sure.
was like you're misusing him at that point. Use
Yeah.
him and let him make those cuts once the other team is tired. It's like an ollie. It's the same thing with an ollie. Maybe an ollie deserves to start, but even then, you can see the impact in the second half when the other team's already tired that a player like Dorsey and like an ollie can have on the opposition back line. For me, it's simple what Ben has to do at that point. Like, Dorsey can still get a good amount of minutes, but maybe put him at the end of the game.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think obviously Dorsey has done what he needed to do prior, because obviously the lack of having a legit right winger.
That too, yeah.
Somebody. That, I mean, we haven't had a legit right winger since Albert Elise left.
Oh my
So
days.
and it's kind of sad to say, because I mean, he's been gone for a while. So to have a player to come up like that, who the team might not be so much thinking about as far as an offensive threat now, because he's done it so long now. I mean, everybody knows that he's potentially an offensive threat, and if you can cut him off before he crosses the halfway point, then you don't have to worry about him, which is what a lot of teams are doing nowadays. But with that being said, guys, let's move over. Let's move on to this Saturday's game on the 5th. First time ever against San Diego FC in San Diego. And oddly enough, the expansion team is in first place in the Western Conference at the moment. A couple of a point ahead of Vancouver, but I think Vancouver has a game in hand, if I'm not mistaken, or something like that, if I'm not mistaken. Your thoughts on San Diego and the way, man, dude, Lozano, Eloski, and Dwyer, man, those guys. I mean, look, I mean, obviously we all know Chucky Lozano what he's been through in Mexican national team, this and that. But man, you gotta give a round of applause to the scouting department for San Diego for finding Dwyer and Eloski, because I mean, those guys have been phenomenal for those guys. I think both of them are almost at 10 goals, if not at 10 goals apiece. And then Dwyer, I think, is the league leader for assists at the moment with like 13 or 14, if I'm not mistaken. So your thoughts on San Diego, Andres, and are you excited to see a team in San Diego, sunny San Diego? I love San Diego as a city, but I mean, obviously I want to go there and capture a win. Do you think that's possible for the Dynamo?
I always hope San Diego will get a team, and of course, they used to have San Diego Loyal. We used to play in the USL Championship before folding, because San Diego FC came to town, and it was kind of tough to compete against them, which definitely sucks. But
San Diego Loyal has some badass kits.
They did used to have some badass kids, and it definitely sucks that they couldn't coexist. I do get that it's a tough market. But San Diego FC, man, they obviously they had the expansion expectations to see if they could just be like a middle of the road team or worse than that. And they now lead the Western Conference. and I just look at the games and how they've been performing so far, and they are like most of the results they're just running away with the game, because they're just able to find openings so well that it seems like they're putting like less effort by just the way they move, and they're just able to find those opportunities. So yeah, San Diego, man, this team it looks like the real deal. They kind of just remind me of St. Louis City last year, whenever they started, because they were just like running away with the Western Conference. But
2 years ago.
we went 2 years ago. Yeah, I keep saying that, but I would remember it for some reason. But still, like it's just a matter of trying to contain them.
Yeah, this is a club that does take opportunities that doesn't take advantage of his opportunities to score. Whereas the Dynamo have opportunities to score, but they don't put the ball in the back of the net. This team, you give them a chance, you give them an inch, that ball's going in the back of the net. Juan, your thoughts on San Diego AFC, man? What do you thought? I mean, first season to be on top of the Western Conference, and we know the Western Conference is the tough conference to go up against. For them to have such an early successful run, kind of has to speak volumes, don't you think?
Oh, definitely it does. And I guess Andres pretty much said everything that had to be said about that team. But even then, when I look at the Dynamo, dude, I'm scared. like I'm gonna be so for real. If Inali doesn't play 45 minutes, if Holmes doesn't play to the level that I think he can, or he told me when we did an interview a couple of days ago, we're cooked, bro. Because you said it, man. Chucky Lozano doesn't miss chances. Pretty much nobody on that team misses chances. Their XG is actually pretty good the last time I checked. Meanwhile, we always consistently underperform our XG, which everybody kind of does regress at the mean at one point. But right now, San Diego is not, which is really scary to me because, a lot of the times we say over time a team will regress. Right now, we're in like one game at a time. And in this short of a sample size for them, it's confidence that counts, It's the confidence that you can overperform your expected goals. And I think San Diego, man, I think we lose. I don't think there's a hope of getting a result out there. I mean, obviously, Mighty Diesel might come through for us, and Inali plays the game of his life to maybe get a draw. But, man, they've just been looking so good, not just offensively, but defensively, too. They are a very well-rounded team. I think, honestly, one of the most well-rounded teams in MLS. And I think that might carry them to kind of an MLS Cup, kind of like how it happened with us when we first came into the league.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. The I don't want to say luck, because obviously these expansion teams have had time and years to scout, to see who they want to bring in, and things of that nature, and how they're gonna do things, So I don't think it's any luck involved. I mean, obviously you get luck as far as maybe players stepping up bigger, having bigger roles than what you thought they would. But just like I said, I think they're one of 3 clubs that are averaging over 2 goals a game, which is a great feat. I mean, it's a great feat to have. I mean, because that means that you're out there scoring goals, that you're out there putting at least pressure on the other team as far as defensively goes and things of that nature. And and like I said, I mean, you have 2 players already in double-digit goals, if I'm not mistaken, and then you have the assist leader on the squad at the moment as well. So yeah, it's gonna be a tough time. The one good thing about it is it's in sunny San Diego. It's gonna be a crisp 70 degrees, nice ocean breeze, and you're not gonna die of humidity. So I mean that's one of the positive things about playing in San Diego, because I lived in San Diego for a little bit, man, and man, I love San Diego. Shout out to San Diego, the city in general. So it's a real pleasure to be out there for anything. But yeah, man, I gotta agree with you, Juan. But there's always that side of me where, like, we're counting the Dynamo out, and then they go and do some. They did it last year, man.
They did it last year.
Not to say that they're playing stupidly or whatever, or they're just playing nonchalant, and then they pull out an upset out of nowhere against the number 1 team in the Western Conference. But like I said, I do believe we have the talent on the squad. It's just that it's not clicking.
Yeah.
Could it click this weekend?
Maybe.
I don't, maybe. Who knows? It's a possibility. Crazier things have happened.
Sure.
But Yeah, I mean it's a lot to ask for, especially going against bottom feeders and losing the way we have, and then not having quite the show that we thought we would against St. Louis. But I mean, but like I said, I want to be optimistic, and I want to have, I want to go in here with some positivity and not just be negative about everything, right? I don't want to go down that path until we know for sure we have to go down that path, and burn down everything, right? But it's just man, it's tough because like you said, you see a team in San Diego that's focused, that's united, and they're steamrolling basically everybody that comes their way. And while we're lackluster, realistically lackluster, I mean that's the best word I can think of to describe the club at the moment. So predictions, Andres, I'll go with you first, my guy.
Oh no.
Pressure's on you, man.
Yeah, it's gonna be a difficult game because the only way we see us scoring is just playing our best offensive game, which it's really hard to come by. It just based on how the roster is looking at right now. But man, I never want to say a loss, but you know what? I'm gonna go with a 2-2 draw.
Wow.
Like only
Wow.
only like just out of vibes only because I'm a Dynamo fan.
Yeah.
I have to believe every single time.
Hey man, a 2-2 draw would be amazing because not only are we scoring goals, but we're going in there with pride. When you go into a superior opponent's house and you stand your ground, that's saying something. That's being prideful.
Yeah.
That's having orgullo, and stuff like that. So I mean, to have to go in there and get a 2-2 draw would be a great sign. And like I always say, those road points are golden points. So, regardless of whether it's 1 or 3, we'll take them. Who scores the goals for you, Andres?
I'm gonna say Andrade
Oh,
and Lawrence and Ellie off the bench.
man, the two guys we've been focusing on. Hey, might as well be the two superstars, Andrade and
Yeah,
Nando.
our superstars.
That would be great. That'd be great. One projection.
I know you were talking about being positive, Mark, and I agree with you. My heart always says that Dwayne Holmes can pull off a Brad Smith and tie the game. If you know it, against Vancouver, Brad Smith legend. But I'm gonna match you in the amount of goals in the game, Andres. But all forward to San Diego. I think is gonna yeah. And the reason I say this, and you were saying going off the vibes, Andres, I think the vibes are a little better this week than it has been for a little while. But this team just straight up has no aura. Like I'm gonna be so rude with you, dude. When I look at this team, and you guys laugh, and it's true. But
No, we want the truth. We want the truth.
It's really
the vibes are better, right? But when I look at this team, all the vibes went with McGlynn at the Gold Cup. It hurts because I feel like with Jack, anything can truly happen. But without him, and now Lodedo not there, another game of Kowalczyk on the left wing, playing with 3 cams without a single natural winger, except for Anali, but we know he probably won't start. Man, I don't know. And defensively, dude, Dorsey's back, and he might start. I think it could get ugly. And if it gets ugly, considering the recent results, maybe we can start talking about some pressure on Ben Olsen and, starting to have the conversation about whether he's the right head coach for the job. Simple.
Yeah, that obviously I
if you
think
lose
last
by that
week-
much though, if you lose by like 1 or 2, then okay, maybe a couple more weeks. But if you lose 4-0,
Yeah, I mean, we had this conversation last week about whether we were been in or been out, and it's just one of those things where, like, I think the club is going to ride with him and is going to give him the grace that I think he obviously deserves.
That's
for,
true.
Obviously, being the coach that kind of brought us out of that big hole that we were in, and I guess it's fine to a certain point, but I mean, obviously, if you just see that the train is just not going and it's going the wrong way, I mean, how much can you really stick to the same thing, and then obviously with the transfer window around the corner, if my team, look, I'm going to be honest, if I'm Ted and this team is not improving over the next couple of weeks, I'm not even worried about the transfer window. Why would I want to go and spend money on a team that's or sprinkle money on a team that's not doing anything? You know, how
Yeah.
many times realistically do teams who are on the bottom of the league get a player and that player all of a sudden just turns around their whole season, dude? A summer the thing about a summer transfer window, you got to think about it. Remember when Hector Herrera got signed? He got signed in the summer. He was only able to play what 9-10 games,
Yeah.
and he couldn't get acclimated right. You know, it's tough to come in the middle of the season, especially from Europe when you're having your off season, to come in and to expect to just take the team on your back and carry them. And it's a hard proposition, you know, and very few, if any, to be honest, I can't really think of anybody who's come in the summer and done that for a squad, you know, in MLS like that, you know. And like I said, if the Dynamo the next 3-4 games, however many games we have before the transfer window opens up, don't show any signs of improvement, I don't know how much we should really be caring about the summer transfer window, to be honest, you know, in my opinion, you know. But with that being said, my projection for San Diego, man, Jesus. I'm somewhere between a draw and a massacre. Man,
Yeah, dude.
you know, like it's tough because I want to say that I want the team to be prideful and go in there and show some grit, you know, and you know at least show that you know that hey, we might not be the team that we are that we were the last couple of years at the moment, but we have that in us when we get an opportunity. So I'm not gonna go 4-0 massacre. I'm probably gonna go more of shit. I'm gonna go 3-2. I'm gonna go 3-2. San Diego FC wins at home. You know, who scores my goals? Obviously, I think let's see who scores my goals. I think Linger finally shows up, comes back again, and scores her goal. And let's say who else? Let's say Ponce. I'm gonna go with Ponce and Linger. So
Interesting.
we'll see what happens. You know, obviously, I would love to see
Nice.
Nali score a goal. You know, but we'll see what happens with that. But I'm gonna go 3-2 San Diego FC over our Houston Dynamo. Juan has said 4-0 massacre disaster in San Diego, and our optimistic Andres said 2-2 draw in San Diego for this Saturday the 5th against San Diego FC. So we'll see what happens, man. We'll see what happens. It's going to be an interesting game. Do you think what are your thoughts on Chucky Lozano? Like honestly, I'll ask you for our first one because you know Chucky Lozano was like at one point was the next supposedly huge Mexican superstar who was going to take over after Chicharito and after Andres Guardado and all those guys who had left the Mexican national team. You know, he was he was at PSV, then he went to Napoli, and Napoli he won a title with them. He wasn't a big part of it, but he won a title with them, and then he obviously went back to PSV. And then, you know, a lot of rumors of where he could have gone or came back, or should he come back to MLS, or should he have stayed in Europe? Your thoughts on Chucky Lozano?
I think he's a good player. I watched some PSV because of Luke de Jong and some of the Americans in Eredivisie. So I watched a little bit of him. I can't say I'm too familiar with his game, but from what I've seen and from what the stats say, he's a very solid player. I mean, obviously, I think the ceiling for him was a lot higher than where he ended up, but I still think he had a very, very commendable career. Like most people, even with the hype that he had, would if he called it quits right now, I think most people would look back on his time like, hey, he won a trophy of Napoli, and he played for some top sides, recognizable sides, and now he has 11 goal contributions in MLS. Saying probably going into the sunset now with San Diego, I think. So I think he's a very solid player. I mean, I'd take him for the Dynamo and just give it to me real quick, man. Imagine him on the right and Ali on the left, and Ali at striker.
Yeah, I mean, I remember a lot of people were claiming for like Lozano to be like for the Dynamo to go after him as a DP because obviously the Mexican background and all that stuff. But I've never really been a big fan, especially watching him in the Mexican national team. I just feel that he's a player that well at that level was not contributing what he needed to be contributing. Obviously, we know MLS is a little bit of a level down from Serie A and from the Dutch league. But I mean, but he's taking full advantage of it, and he's showcasing his skills. Andres, your opinion on Chucky Lozano?
Man, I thought I was gonna have a hard time initially, just because it's tough for our expansion team to find that team and just be competitive, and the opposite just happened. So he's a key piece for them, which is kind of expected for a designated player, and it's going great for them. It's just a matter of how consistent they can be, if they can carry it over through the end of the season, if they make it to playoffs, which kind of looks like already, and like the biggest part, just like how if you can carry all that beyond 2025. So
Yeah,
just a couple things to think about, but Chucky Lozano definitely makes this league better, just by being here, and it's good to have him here.
yeah. Obviously, you want that Mexican presence in MLS because you're always competing with Liga MX. And obviously with Chicharito going back to Chivas and Vela retiring and Hector Herrera going to Toluca, and things like that. Obviously you're looking for that next Mexican player to be that face of MLS, to carry MLS forward, to bring in the Mexican fans and all that good stuff. And Lozano has done his part for the most part, up to this point. So we'll see how it keeps going for him in his MLS career. But with that being said, guys, obviously, before we end the show, I have a question I gotta ask you guys. But obviously, because the Dynamo have been bottom feeders or whatever, I ask if the Dynamo are one of the worst teams in the league. And look, let's obviously there's a little bit of controversy in that question, because obviously, are they LA Galaxy? Are they Montreal? Are they Toronto? No. Can they? They're one of those teams that are fighting for that 8-9 play-in spot, right? And with an opportunity to maybe make a 5 or 6 seed, right, in the West, which would automatically qualify them for the playoffs. So with that being said, I'm going to present a new question for you guys. And with that, I want to understand where your thoughts are as far as, why you answer the way you do. But my question for you guys, and I'll ask Juan first, is do you think the Dynamo are capable of making a legit playoff push? Now, what do I mean by legit, right? Before you get to the, I'm not asking you, I'm not telling you, hey, are they going to go win the Western Conference and lift up the Supporters Shield? And no. Well, can they make a run from here on out, from July up until whenever the season ends in September, to where, hey, the Dynamo are in constant contention for a spot within the 5th and 8th spot?
I think so. I think it's closer than people might say it is, right? Obviously, because I feel like some of the results recently have been kind of disappointing, but like May, a good portion of May was pretty good. Obviously, we had Jack McGlynn there, and considering that he's going to be back relatively soon, and Nali's coming back, and Holmes is back, and apparently Quinones might actually be pretty close. I might ask Ben about that tomorrow. It seems like Quinones is ramping up. He's practicing with everybody else. So that, I think, is very good news, because maybe you start a Nali in the future, like a month or two from now. You start a Nali and then Quinones comes off the bench. Obviously, 2 different players, but if he recovers well from his injury, they kind of offer some similar profiles. Obviously, there's a couple differences with Anali cutting inside. I think there's pieces here that if everybody was healthy from the get-go to start the season, and we had a Mikal replacement from the start, I think legitimately this team could have probably met or been slightly below what they did last year. Like, legitimately, if they had the Mikal replacement to start and everybody was healthy, I mean, you have pretty much everybody on the roster healthy, I would say playoff. Obviously, the way things started and the way they've continued, a little bit underwhelming. But, everybody says MLS season starts in September. Well, not everybody, but some people do. And I said it earlier, it's about who is hotter going into postseason or going into September over, who's been more consistent sometimes. And I think the Dynamo are definitely, their mentality now is they want to be the hottest team in MLS going into summer and into fall. I think that has to be the mentality. And if they do that, Jack McClain comes back, all good from Gold Cup, and Ali keeps showing what he's showing, I think there's a definite possibility that maybe they surpass the play-in altogether and go into the playoffs. But it'll still be tough. It'll be very tough, even though it's close up there in the Western Conference.
And not just hottest because of geographical stance, because we're,
obviously,
we're
already that by default,
we're already that, So, Andres, I'll pose the same question to you, my guy. Do you think the Dynamo can make a legit playoff push this year? Which means I feel like a legit playoff push would mean them landing somewhere between the 5th and 8th spot, in the table.
Thanks to parity, they can for sure,
Mm-hmm.
and it's gonna come down to the second half of the season, kind of like what Juan was talking about early in the episode, and it's more so like you can definitely make playoffs if you want at this point. We're still fighting in between the Western Conference standings, which gives us still a good chance down over the next 4 or 5 months that are left in the season, but you have to give us reasons why we should believe that. And I feel like if we manage to get some sort of reinforcement in the transfer window, obviously that's going to help things for sure. But as things stand, it's kind of hard to see us as a solid pick for a playoff spot, unless we're talking about like the last couple months, which we can probably just squeeze into like one of the playing spots or decision day things going on. So it's kind of tough right now, I'd say for sure. But if the team turns things around, it's definitely more than likely. Just being me optimistic, it can happen for sure. But it's that you have to convince us otherwise.
Yeah, just looking at the standings right now, look, we're obviously in 10th place. We're 3 points away from 7th, and we're 6 points away from 5th. Which is Seattle at 29. And that's with all the faltering and all the losses that we've encountered this past month. This and all the bad stuff that's happened with the team as far as losing against clubs that we shouldn't be losing against. But like I said, those points that we let go can come back and haunt you. Those are the easy teams that you should have gotten points off of. We're gonna have tough matches coming up pretty soon against teams like obviously RSL. Not RSL. I'm sorry, Vancouver, who's Cinderella this season. Who are doing fantastic and things of that nature, and obviously other clubs that are coming on along the pipeline and stuff like that. So, I think that the Dynamo can make a legit playoff run. It's just like I said, man. Like I said, I know we talked about it last week. I don't know if it's just something tactically needs to change, but I mean, or there just needs to be some type of player only meeting or something. But like we need accountability, dude. Like there needs to be some accountability. Like there needs to be some somebody's voice speaking up, somebody speaking up. We need somebody showing on the pitch, leading the way, charging the way, and things of that nature. And I mean, I guess it's to be seen, I guess, because if we are going to make this playoff push and playoff run, we need to see those things there for these guys. And, like I said, I honestly think if even if we don't add anything or if we add something minor in the summer transfer window, depending on what happens with McGlynn and other players or whatever, I think that the talent is there. It's just, who can bring it out of them. And is Ben Olsen still the answer, because, obviously we got to give him props for him getting us to this point, but is this his ceiling? Maybe we need to get away from this and move on to another coach who can take us to the next level. That's yet to be seen too. So we'll see what happens. With that being said, guys, obviously, thank you very much for joining us. Juan, we appreciate you joining us and showing off your new mic and all that good stuff. Andres, as always, obviously you're always here, man. You're an all-time great and all that good stuff. Guys, we appreciate all the support and all the great stuff. Double dipping today with Dash Dispatch, with Noodle Time and all that good stuff. Shout out to OSG, shout out to Bayless and all that good stuff. But Andres, can you let the people know where they can find us and where they can reach us if they want to reach us?
Of course, and everyone that's watching or listening, whatever. We do appreciate the support as always. We're about to hit the 2-hour mark. First time ever in Noodle Time history, which is awesome.
Yes, sir.
There we go.
Well, yeah, guys. Seriously, we do appreciate the support as always. On Twitter, X, Instagram, and Blue Sky, we do have the @Dynamic Foxtrot handle. We share as much news as possible, so you guys are in tune whenever everything goes down with the Dynamo, Dash, those. And also on X, we do have a separate profile called Noodle Tiempo. Just us trying to keep you guys covered as much as possible. Wherever you're listening, if to any podcast platform, you can just look up Noodle Time. We're gonna be there. If not, just let me know. I'm gonna add that podcast there, so we'll make sure that we are everywhere. So yeah, Noodle Time. You can get all the segments, all the shows that we have in store on video form. YouTube's gonna be the best option to catch live streams like this one, and Ghost TV is also a good way to check out other soccer content creators like us. If you haven't checked it out already, we do have the links in our socials. If you haven't checked it out already, and yeah, if you haven't checked it out, it's a ramen. We just came out, posted it this morning with Lawrence and Ali and Dwayne Holmes. Juan took care of that one, so shout out to Juan because it's very tricky to get interviews with Dynamo, especially when the availability has to be around the morning hour. So shout out to Juan and shout out to Lawrence and Ali and shout out to Dwayne Holmes for the interview. Check it out already. It's on YouTube right now or any podcast platform if you want to listen to that one. And that's Dispatch in the written form. It's in our Substack along with Fox in the Box. If you haven't checked it out already, we do have our Substack, which is our weekly newsletter. And OSG just started writing that on a weekly basis. So check it out. Check those out already if you haven't. And as always, we do appreciate the support. And yeah, it definitely felt like 2 hours already. It felt like a minute for me.
Yeah, I mean, you must be hurting in that chair. Guys, like I said, Juan, again, thank you for coming through, my guy. I am looking forward to that video with Anali and Holmes. I'm gonna check that out as soon as we get out from here. Guys, like I said, you guys as well. Thank you for all the support through YouTube, through social media, through the reposts and the likes and all that good stuff, guys. We keep going because you keep us going and all that good stuff. And with that being said, whether we're up and down, we always hold it down for H-Town.
Yes, sir.
Always.